Hello, welcome to my lecture on evolution and future of drones. I'm Dr. Sylvia Kohn-Rich, and I work for the Aerospace Corporation. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Uruguay in South America, and I was always very passionate about aerospace. Since I was a kid, my dad would buy me books about the Concorde and overcrafts and things like that. He bought me books about the space shuttle. And I remember being a teenager and not memorizing, but really knowing the launch sequence of the space shuttle. And that for me, that was really cool. So I went and got interested in aero models. So I was flying this little aircraft with remotely controlled that I think they're kind of drones, right? So this was a long time ago. I remember once I started one in my mom's kitchen, and it was a mess because I started with without the exhaust, so the oil from the combustion was all over the kitchen. It was a mess. I loved it. She didn't love it too much. Anyways, so I didn't have aerospace in Uruguay, even though it's a great country where anybody can take any college class for free. Except they didn't have aerospace. So I got a full ride scholarship to the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, and studied there my BSc in aerospace. And I went right on into my master's in aerospace. And then I did research during my master's on helmet mounted displays. And I was working with subjects on what was the effect of the head movement on helmet mounted displays when they're a slave to a camera. And there are systems that are being used with that. So what was the effect of time delays? What was the effect of restricting the field of view? And it was so much fun. I got to run, I think I had 10 subjects, other students and also pilots from the Israel Air Force. And I was programming my own stuff with Silicon Graphics. Do you guys remember Silicon Graphics? And that was a lot of fun. And then I went to work. And I worked in a startup in Israel, and I realized that when I was creating algorithms and systems, the company needed to bring professors from the University of Tel Aviv to accredit those systems. And I said, I can do my own PhD. So I got a scholarship to USC, University of Southern California, and I started working on my PhD on autonomous navigation of drones. And then I realized that to finish the PhD, I needed to access classified papers, which of course I couldn't. So I switched to robust fuzzy logic control, which is applying fuzzy logic to aerospace. And then I did my PhD on that, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And then I graduated, and of course I had to work. At the time when I finished my PhD, I had a baby. I had a baby during my PhD. And we didn't have much money. We had a 75 Buick Electra, that was our car, and a baby. And so I went to work full time. I worked for Boeing, and then I worked for Northrop. I did the Gross mission in which we discovered water on the moon. That was so much fun. And other missions like STSS. I worked on JWest, that is now in space. And then I came to work for the Aerospace Corporation. And I've been working on all kind of fun stuff. Although my passion has always been drones and UAVs, I hold 2 patents on autonomous navigation of drones for the space, jointly with the Aerospace Corporation. All right, so let's look into drones and what they are and what we can do with them. So what are drones? So the definition of a UAV or drone is an aircraft that has no human pilot, crew, or passengers on board. And this is not a new thing. So you see here on the right that the Havilland Queen Bee, that's from the 1940s. And the coolest, in my opinion, is the Lockheed D-21 drone that rode on the A-12 Blackbird. And that's in the 60s. So that would detach from the Blackbird and fly autonomously. And that was in the time that we needed to take some photos of the Soviet installations, and we needed something to do it. And the U-2, the manned aircraft, was in danger of the newest defenses that the Soviets had. So this was better. And then there's something a little different, because there are all kinds of drones and systems. I wanted to show you something called an insectocopter. It was a drone, and that was designed by the CIA in the 70s. And that was like a reconnaissance drone that looks like an insect. So you see all kinds of different things. And one thing that we need to understand is that the drone, the unmanned areas vehicle, or UAVs as they know it, are one component of what we call the unmanned aircraft system, the UAS, which also has a ground-based control and a system of communications to talk to this UAV. And these UAVs, or drones, can be remotely piloted aircraft. That means that there's a pilot actually telling it what to do, and different degrees of autonomy. I worked on the artificial intelligence to give it more autonomy to these drones. All right, so we see from this picture already that many sizes of drones, many capabilities. And then let's look a little bit more into its architecture. So what goes into making one? So we have different configurations. We can have fixed wing or blended wing, multi-rotors, like you see the DJIs, or the little ones that you can buy in a mall and you can fly it at home. You can be an helicopter, and it can even be a spacecraft. And all kind of propulsion can be internal propulsion, or can have jet engines, can be electric, like the usual quads that you see, can even have flapping wings and even rockets. And then the most important part of the drone is the sensors and the payload, right? So what it is this system designed to do, right? Or system of systems, right? So most common is electro-optical or infrared or multispectral. Like, in simple words, taking pictures. Also radars, some of them have lasers, and there are other kinds. You can even have a drone that can drop or pick up people or objects, right? Let's say a pilot ejects over a very dangerous area, and you don't want to risk even more pilots to rescue this one. So you can send a UAV that will autonomously reach the location of the downed pilot and pick him or her up. And another part of the communications is either radio frequency or laser, to and from the ground station that gives it commands and receive payload data, or it can talk to other aircraft, spacecraft. And then we have the last one is the control systems, and how much autonomy you have in that. So you see in the picture the flight computer, you have gyro-stabilized observation platforms, because this drone might be doing some maneuvers, can have some vibrations, and you don't want that translated into your pictures, right, or your videos. So you have gyros that stabilize the platform. So you have digital cameras and other kinds of sensors. Then you have mission and payload control, because you need to control what the payload is doing, right, where your cameras are looking at, and stuff like that, and communication subsystem. And then you have the base station, which is that place where the remote pilots control this drone, or where some commands are sent to it. Depends on how much autonomy you have. So where have these drones been applied? Oh, there's a lot of applications in aerial photography. So you guys, if you got to see the latest photos and movies, you see they're breathtaking. There are movies that they have footage that's incredible. Like, would be very, very dangerous to take that with footage if you had to do it with helicopters or things like that. One clear example, I don't know if you've seen it, the 2020 movie from James Bond, No Time to Die. And you see that incredible footage there. And like I said, it doesn't take over the jobs of cameramen in those helicopters. It's just those shots wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the drones. They're just too dangerous to do. And also, there are very high quality productions. You can put very high quality cameras in these drones, and they're cheap to take, cheaper than putting a whole crews and multiple helicopters to attempt to do that shot. Now, another applications that are very common, unfortunately lately, is keeping our soldiers safe. You can have a UAV, a drone that the soldier can carry in his kit and in his belt or gear. For example, the Black Hornet Nano Reconnaissance drone. So you see the picture there is tiny. You see it's even smaller than the hand of the soldier holding it. And it has electro-optical payload that sends the imagery to a wrist-mounted display, so the soldier can see what's beyond the next street or the next mountain, so that they get no surprises, right? And for the big, powerful drones like the Predator, the Reaper, and those things, they are even capable of striking. So they carry missiles and other payloads to certain countries. For example, and here you see the General Atomics MQ-9 Reaper. So we have other applications that are more, I would say, more for peacetime, and also they are not so famous, if you will. However, they are very important. In agriculture, you use drones to do precision delivery of sprays. Precision agriculture is becoming more and more important, in which you deliver insecticide and food for the plants in exactly the places where they need it, and not all over the field. And again, if you have a delicate crops or a congested field for planting, then the drones are a really good idea instead of airplanes. And they are also able to do cheap, high quality autonomous flights. Now, you have something a little different. For example, planetary exploration support, you can survey the terrain. Like in the right, you see NASA deploy the Mars helicopter Ingenuity. So I think that was the coolest thing to have, that we have a helicopter, like a drone in Mars that can take pictures far away from the rover and relay it to the Earth, so that also the rover can plan with the crew and on Earth, of course, can plan the new sampling path. And then on the left, we see we have the first stage of the rocket. For SpaceX, they're reusable. That means it used to be that you launch a rocket and the first stage would just drop to the ocean, be burned in the atmosphere, and not be reused. It would be basically trashed. SpaceX changed that by making the first stage reusable. That means comes back and lands in a spaceport drone ship. So here we see a photo of full thrust first stage. They put these funny names, and the drone ship is called, of course, I Still Love You, which I thought is kind of funny. Anyway, so you see all kinds of applications of drones. And we have different things that are not something you would think right away. For example, you have airships. They are also drones that are able to do two-dimensional, three-dimensional, multispectral imagery and mapping. That's a whole mouthful. That means that 2D means that flat pictures, and 3D that means that with multiple cameras, you can create a three-dimensional model of the ground beneath you. Also can be used for phone relay as a communications hub, the same way that you have the towers on Earth, on cities. You can use an airship to relay communications. And these airships can stay aloft a very long time. That makes them very cost effective. So here in the picture, we can see the Airbus and Vodafone airships. And we can start talking also a little bit more about the UAVs can act not just as single units, but also as swarms to create an overarching effect. So here we see in some pictures of light shows like it never has been possible to do before. So on the left, we see 1,000 drones. They are launched to pay respect to the soldiers fallen in the battles of reserve. And that's in Europe. And then we see drone 100 performed by Ars Electronica at Future Lab for Intel in 2015. So you can see stunning effects with these drones that we just carry each one a little light, although by acting in a swarm, it has an incredible artistic effect. And then let's talk a little bit about the future. So there are many things that can be done with drones. And one of my favorites here, especially since I live in Los Angeles, and for you guys who know about Los Angeles, we have a lot of traffic, especially now that COVID restrictions are easing out. We have a lot of highways that get very, very congested. Like driving the 405, I think it's legendary for being very, very, very busy. The Los Angelinos now, we're getting used to taking half an hour more to get anywhere in the city because of congestion. So the question is, what do you do about it, right? And there was a key paper that I found incredibly useful. If you can download it, I strongly encourage you do it, called the Uber Elevate. And that brings us to some very, very hot topic now called urban air mobility, UAM, which envisions a safe and efficient aviation transportation system that will use highly automated aircraft, like drones, that will operate and transport passengers or cargo at lower altitudes within urban and suburban areas. So what's the idea here? Okay, imagine like when you call an Uber, you take your app and you call a car. The car arrives sometime later, picks you up and takes you to wherever you need to go, right? So you don't need your own car and you know how much you're gonna pay. Well, extend that concept and do it for UAVs, which carry passengers. That's autonomous mover in the air. So instead of being stuck in the freeway, you can pull your app, call one of these UAVs, and then the idea is interesting because you would get a car, an Uber, to take you to a hub. That means you wouldn't have this UAV pick you from anywhere. There will be lots and lots of places where they will be able to land and take off to pick up passengers and drop them. So you would take a car to go to one of the hubs in which one of these electric propulsion systems, vertical takeoff and landing systems, will pick you up, take you to another hub very close to the place you need to go. And then another car will take you to exactly the place you need to go. So think how this will change the whole picture of how people live. Because with this, you don't need to live very close to your office. Because something, a drive that they would take you hours and hours, something like in LA, it could take you 2 hours or more to arrive from a house in the suburbs to an office downtown. With this system of systems, this concept, it would take you around half an hour, which is revolutionary. And that means that opening all the real estate opportunities and living, quality of living, far from the center of the city, and still making on time to your office or place where you work. So there are a lot of work being done on this from the companies that create electric VTOLs, and they are going to be UAVs because they are talking about no pilot or pilot who just monitors the autonomous navigation of these systems. And also there's NASA is working together with the FAA on how to manage the traffic of this concept, right? Imagine when this is fully operational, there were many of these electric VTOLs there. And one thing that I find fascinating is they are very quiet. Whereas you are used to hearing helicopters that make a lot of noise, these VTOLs are very, very quiet, have electric propulsion. and they don't contaminate as much as other means that use fuel. And they're rechargeable, so that means that solar power, wind power will be able to power these things. And I think this is incredible for the future of UAVs. So I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I look forward to hearing about what you think.